Hey there, Albedo238 here again. And you can see I'm home a little early. I thought it'd be away a little longer, but here I am. So, with that said, while I was away, I had an idea for a video I wanted to do. And it's a comparison video between two of my favorite games. And kind of putting a little into a certain debate, that's been between them, at least, when one of the games came out. This comparison is between Super Smash Bros. Melee for the GameCube and Super Smash Bros. Brawl for the Wii. Now, both of these are really great games. Okay, they're both excellent fighting games, or well, not true fighting games in the sense like Street Fighter or or Soul Calibur or Tekken. They're more like party-style fighting games like Power Stone, but they're really great games nonetheless. Both highly acclaimed. But there's always been a debate between which one is better all the time. And from what I tell, the majority of hardcore gamers out there prefer Melee more. I like to think of myself as not quite hardcore, but not quite casual either. And maybe that's the reason for my choice, but I choose Brawl but I'm kind of here to give out my opinions as to why, and make little comparisons between them to kind of show that they are both good games nonetheless, regardless of your choice. Now, when Super Smash Bros. Melee came out, the people at Nintendo and HAL Labs added tons of options that were not found in the first game. They added, they reworked the single player mode and called it Classic. They added the adventure mode, All-Star mode. They added special battles in the versus section. They added the stadium games. Just tons of modes. Probably one of the most polarizing, maybe not polarizing, but one of the biggest features was the ability to collect trophies. Kind of an early idea for achievement, like the achievement system like you find on the Xbox 360 games. Except the trophies to me have a little more, there's a little more worth in collecting them, because not only are they kind of like little prizes, but since they're of individual, items from the Nintendo universe, it puts a little more. It just feels more worth getting. It feels like more of an accomplishment. Because each item has a history behind it, and so that's pretty cool. Melee but aside from that, Melee was really regarded as one of the best games out there ever by many fighting game fans, and for good reasons. Controls were smooth, it played well, and had a good cast of characters and a great many of locales to fight in. Great game. Then in March 9, 2008, Super Smash Bros. Brawl came out for the Wii. It was supposed to come out in December 2006 as a launch title for the Wii, but the people at Nintendo and HAL Labs, they decided to kind of delay the game because they felt it had a lot more potential behind it, and they certainly took their time with it. Trying to pack it up with as much stuff as they could, trying to make it a much larger game than Melee. And they certainly did. Not only adding more trophies to get, more characters, and more stages, but they also added other features like collecting stickers and music, which was very awesome. Anyway. But some people out there were kind of criticized Brawl for being sometimes it was too casual, because because unlike Melee, where Melee had a bit of a speed increase compared to the first game, Brawl's pace was a little slowed down, kind of going back to that kind of steady pace that the first game had. And some didn't really. Plus, the advanced play that a lot of people liked in Melee, which wasn't really advanced play, it was actually glitches. You know, if you don't believe me, watch K-Wing's review. He kind of puts it. You know, he kind of watch K-Wing's review of Melee. You know, he puts it in a pretty good light. You know, definitely, and he definitely knows what he's talking about. But some people were upset about that. Felt trying to go too heavily towards casual players. The other criticism is that it was considered like Melee 1.5 because many of the options that were in Melee were brought back for Brawl, such as Classic, All-Star, the Adventure Mode, the Stadium games, the events, which I forgot to mention, the event matches in Melee. They were brought back in Brawl. Pardon me. Anyway, but that was mostly among the many hardcore gamers out there. Many reviewers reviewers like IGN and such, still gave this game high marks and still consider it one of the best Wii games out there. Maybe not as good as some others, but probably like Super Mario Galaxy, maybe, at least in their eyes. But they still liked it a lot. And hey, I like it too. Anyway, I'm going to try to judge well, maybe not so much. I won't say probably judge. That's probably a bad word. Mostly, I'm going to be comparing these games based on each their own personal strengths and weaknesses. Let's start with Melee. Now, I think the reason why many people prefer Melee the most is because of the amount of originality that went into it. Now, not to say the first game wasn't original. It was definitely original with its type of fighting system. Not many fighting games didn't. I mean, there were some fighting games that did have ring outs, like Soul Calibur, Virtua Fighter, but never did those fighting games ever put an emphasis on ringing out your opponents as the way of winning, and not just ringing them out, but actually blowing them out of the stage entirely as a way to actually earn a victory. But Melee is original for all the many options that were put in it. Options that were never seen in many other fighting games. Fighting games tended to be limited to just mostly just two people beating the crap out of each other. That was about it. In a skilled way, of course, because fighting games do require a good bit of skill. And Smash Bros. Requires its own amount of skill. Maybe not as much as others, but it still requires some. Anyway, but the amount of originality that was put into many of the options added to this game were very unique, and really showed that Nintendo could do a really good game, as they always do, most of the time. Anyway, that's probably my reason why people prefer Melee a lot. And even with all the stuff in Brawl, Melee is still a great game. But there are some noticeable problems. Like I said, the glitches were one thing. But at the same time, some characters also feel a little too unbalanced. Sometimes, some characters can feel a little too cheap. Some characters, feel like they were not. Some of the mechanics for some of the characters don't feel all that good, while others they feel a lot better. It's almost like they almost played favoritism towards some characters, like Marth, Fox, Falco, which they're considered top tier characters. and it's kind of unfair, you know, especially when considering that there are, you know, considering that you may have a character, your favorite character that's not on the top tier. You know, if you prefer like to play as Mario or Link, you know, which characters like them are considered low tier or middle tier. So that, to me, is kind of unfair in my opinion. But I think fighting games have kind of had a problem with that in general. Sometimes, some do feel that way. And the speed increase is also definitely another sign of how unbalanced the game is. You know, sometimes it feels a little way too fast, you know, and like speedy characters can take advantage of that, while slower characters can only go so far with it. So that's one of the problems. And I could complain about the clone characters, you know, the clones, but that's too easy to complain about, so I won't go there. Those are maybe the only noticeable problems, but they are very noticeable, and they can definitely be hindering, especially if you're a casual player looking for just a good time. You know, or you just want a friendly competition. Sometimes you're not really going to get that, but like I said, overall it's still fun. I'm probably gonna end this video right now because it's probably getting a little bit long, but I will conclude it in the next part where I start talking about Brawl. So I'll see you until then.